Welcome to this Electronic Armory quick tip. For this one, we'll be showing you how to duplicate an existing Git repository to your computer, as well as creating your own when you have existing code. We'll be using Bitbucket.org's Git service and SourceTree for our Git client. You can find out more about these in the video's description. First, let's duplicate an existing repository. This duplication in Git is called cloning. So let's clone a repository. I have one right here. This repository's address is located in the top right-hand corner here. Simply click in here, copy, switch over to SourceTree, and hit New Repository. You'll see a list of clone from URL. That's the one we want. SourceTree will ask you for that source URL, which we'll paste in right now. The destination path is where we want to save those files. Clicking on the ellipses here will open up a file dialog so we can save it. SourceTree is going to ask us where we want to save these files. I have a development folder here where I'm going to save this to. So I'm going to click open on that. SourceTree automatically gives it a name. You can name this whatever you want. So let's just call this Android. Click clone and SourceTree will download those files to your hard drive. Okay, after SourceTree has downloaded those files, it'll show you a history of all the changes made in that repository and the files that were changed. Now if I actually want to see those files in my File Explorer or my Finder, I can click this button up here to show in Finder. It'll show me all the files that I have in my repository. Great, now you've just downloaded a repository to your hard drive. If you're more comfortable using Git via the command line, SourceTree has that option as well. Click on the terminal to bring up the terminal. Here you can execute your Git commands. Let's say that you already have code that you want to actually put onto Bitbucket. If you're used to GitHub, we can show you where the address is in GitHub. Here's an Android project that's pretty popular. The address is located here, kind of in the middle on the right-hand side. Copying that and pasting it into SourceTree under clone from URL will give the same results. Now let's say you have code that you already have that you want to push up to Bitbucket. Click on New Repository, add existing local repository, and we have this folder here called Quiz, so click Open. SourceTree will ask you for the destination. It'll ask for a name, in this case is going to be Quiz Android App. The type is a Git repository, and I'm going to go ahead and create. You can see the newly created bookmark, which has our Git repository in it. Let's open that up. And now you can see all the files that we have in the repository. Now that we have our Git repository set up, and SourceTree is now pointing to it, we have to set up our remote repository. This is essentially the connection from our local repository to the Bitbucket repository. To do this, we click on Settings in the top right-hand corner and add a remote repository. Clicking Add will do this. It's asking for a remote name, a URL, and some host types. The remote name is usually just called origin. For the URL path, we go back to our Bitbucket repository and we find the remote add origin. We can execute this via terminal, or we can just copy and paste this into Bitbucket here. Click OK, and now our remote is added. You can click this button here to add all of our files to the staging area so that when we commit, it'll save all those files. The green plus means that SourceTree is going to add these files when we commit these files. We can now commit our code, push that code up to Bitbucket, and have others view it and contribute to our repository. If you have any questions about setting up your Git repository, leave them in the comments below. Thanks, and we'll see you next time.